My name is Inês Coelho. I'm a PhD student. I didn't defend my thesis yet, so I remain a student. I am also a cinema and audiovisual producer. And today I will talk about blockchain and how you can use this new technology to improve the cinema and television industry. We will have two big parts. The first part is about distribution and promotion in cinema and television, a new way of distribution and promoting this kind of work using blockchain. And the second part will be about legal issues linked with the use of works made by other people, more specifically audiovisual works. Well, I don't know if you know what is blockchain. Did you ever heard about it or research?
We've heard a lot about it, but it doesn't mean we all understand everything.
Yes, it's a little bit complex. I will try to simplify it. Well, blockchain is a new digital technology that is being used as a tool. It is a shared string of encrypted information, and for this research I just approached the decentralized type which promotes transparency, resilience, reliability, and also effectiveness, especially of financial services, which helps to reduce the costs within various industries. Well, but how does the blockchain work? The blockchain technology consists of a database network scattered across multiple entities, which are kept in sync without an owner or someone who controls the data, which means that the database is distributed but also decentralized. The information contained in the blockchain cannot be changed either by a user or even by an administrator without the other participants in the network agreeing with this action. There are several fundamental advantages of this new technology which can be portrayed regardless of the purpose it serves. This includes the effectiveness. There is no need to reconcile data externally, and the use of the so-called smart contracts that are code snippets saved in the blockchain, which speeds up the payment process. You have also the transparency. You can see in real time all the exchanges and transitions that are being made. And also the smart contracts turn out to be more simplistic in their reading and predictability than any legal language. You have also resilience. The more blockchain participants you have, the better, as it increases data resilience. And trust. The majority of participants in this network have to agree to the accession of new information before this new data become part of the blockchain. With this in mind, we will try to understand how this technology can help the cinema workers in the distribution and promotion of their works, and what new benefits it can bring, especially to these artistic fields. Well, nowadays there are several platforms. I analyzed a lot of platforms, but I will just approach one of them, and then I can talk a little bit of the others. Things that are different from each other. Well, the one that I chose was the Streamspace. The Streamspace platform was developed as a proposal meant for the cinema industry, specifically just for cinema, and it was aimed for launch this year. This platform also implements blockchain technology, of course, technology that allows excluding several intermediates which currently exists in the process of production and distribution of a film, governed by a language of power and money, often not taking into account the interests of the work as art, nor the needs of their creators. But what are the practical advantages that this project proposes to bring both to the creators and to their audience too, beyond those already mentioned? This specific platform was created from cinema works, but could easily be applied to television shows too. First, as noted, the need for intermediaries ceased to exist. There is thus a direct exchange of service between the creator and their audience, which allows the costs of the work to be much reduced. And the creators to receive the amount they established, and to have access to reviews and statistical information on the popularity of the film. Data on a blockchain is an immutable register of information which can contribute to the reduction of piracy through better infringement detection. The creators control their own marketing and promotion of the work, mainly through social media channels and promotion tools that allow establishing a connection with the other creators as well as spectators. It provides online forums which help to complete information in databases such EMDB, builds networking opportunities across the filmmaker communities, shares techniques and tools, and allow learning about new technologies and building audiences. It also allows crowdfunding campaigns to create new projects and support for additional video content classes. And the benefits brought to the audience beyond the type of interaction that can exist with the creators through reviews, ratings, forums and chats is that it can have access to extra material on their careers and other works, and also offers potentially new film formats like virtual and or augmented reality or immersive content and interactive film experiences. However, this is not the only platform, as I said before. There have been really a lot of new platforms, each one with really different characteristics that could be applied to other platforms. For example, the Ethereum Movie Venture is a film production and distribution studio. The Flixo establishes how much the consumer has to pay to view the work, and the smart contract connected to Flixo's blockchain technology allows the creator to decide how to distribute the gains by partners and users who seed the videos. You have also the Singularity TV, that is a content production and distribution platform that creates broadcast quality original film and television content, supporting principles of decentralization with its smart contracts management platform. The Steam is also really interesting because it's a decentralized and censorship resistant social media platform that supports the distribution of content within several formats, including short and feature films. It also encourages the competition of actors, writers, and filmmakers for prizes and funds, with the goal of building an adaptable funding model, as well as working with developers to integrate digital distribution, film premieres, private screenings as something common in its ecosystem. It also installs a downvoting policy that enables the user to act against spammers, content thieves, and other misbehaving agents. You have a lot of them. If you want to know a little bit, I can tell you during the discussion. Well, but I'm a researcher. I can't just point out the good things and leave behind the bad things. So what do you think there are the disadvantages of blockchain right now? Do you have any idea?
I was just going to ask about the competition with YouTube. Do any of them seriously compete with YouTube? Because I know there's huge wars with users and the centralization of YouTube in terms of censorship, in terms of advertising crashes, in terms of content manipulation. So are any of these platforms in direct competition with YouTube, or because I've never heard of any of them?
Yes, in some of them, yes, they are in competition. The thing is, it's really you have a lot of content in that platforms that you can't access without you having cryptocurrencies.
That's huge. That's
it's
huge
really
side
difficult.
problem.
It's a competition, but it's not really there yet because each platform has their own token, so it's really difficult to use. And the problem is,
it seems like it would be really difficult because one of the advantages of YouTube is that because you have universal access, you can go viral.
Yeah,
But with these platforms, you have to almost know the content before you can view it. Is that right? Like you have to pay for it before you.
it depends on the content. But yes, most of the content you can't view if you don't pay for it. Yes.
it's like going to a cinema. You go and you buy. The thing is,
Yeah,
you know,
but
like
that doesn't work
on
here.
YouTube, you know, like there's this advertisement business, but you know, the producers, it's not a way to, you know, to kind of, if you're an actor and a filmmaker, you put it out on YouTube. How do you earn your income? You know how, and this is.
They're using Patreon. So that's what I've been using.
So this is, yeah, but it's not like the economical game. It's more like, you know, like give me something please, you know, a game. And here they are selling, you know, they are selling what they are producing in terms of the video, right? But in a very distributed and detailed way and using blockchain and so on. So when you produce something that you like normally would not just post on YouTube, but try to sell to TV or, you know, like a big filmmaker, you don't, like producer and so on, you don't go to the big guys, you just do it this way. And this is like economical game. It's,
Yes, and you don't have any guarantee that you have a return. You know, it's like it's like the movie industry without YouTube. You know, it's like going to festivals, for example. It's really difficult, but you have a lot of people, especially in Portugal, that just work with short films, and they produce short films to go to the festivals and earn prizes. So it's a little bit like that. But other problems that the blockchain has is the energy. Energy problems, yes. It consumes a lot of energy right now, so it's been really difficult to deal with that. And the problem of, for example, if you lost your password, you lost your tokens. If someone hacks your wallet, that is also possible. You lost your tokens. Other example is even if it is a decentralized platform, you can have an entity that buys a major entity that buys other entities that enter into the blockchain and control all the value of the tokens. And you have also the problem of the tokens don't have a fixed value. It's always changing. Yeah. So yes, the interesting thing is that the most problems that the blockchain technology has are linked to cryptocurrencies. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm going to talk about right now, it's the legal use. you have a lot of advantages that you can take from blockchain technology, and it has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies is the methodology that they use right now to exchange of work for something, something that doesn't really have a real value. It has a sociological value. So it's really, really interesting. Well, the thing is, do you know, I shouldn't show that, but do you know how to use legally a film, for example, during your classes? I don't know if you are teachers, but if you want to show a film legally in your class what to do, or if you want to use an excerpt or just a frame, even to, I don't know, you want to write a book and want to put an image there or a paper or...
I don't know, but I know it's very difficult
Yes,
to get permission, so usually you don't ask for it.
You just show it.
Yes, it's really... The problem is right now research in every field, it's really getting big. And in some countries they are like trying to get the foreigners, like if you use some work illegally from, for example, a German author, and you are not a German, probably you will have some problems. It is also happening in Portugal, not with research, but with a lot with music. It's a new wave in Portugal. Is like now they discovered the plagiarism, so it's being really crazy right now, and I am afraid that the same can happen very soon with research context, especially with still images, not so much with audiovisual works, but with still image. Well, for you to use a moving image, you have to know all of this, all the things that are pointed here in this slide. So the thing is, who is the author of a film? Do you know who the law thinks is the author of a film? If you want to use a film, you have to know that.
The owner is the producer, but, so like it's usually the owner of the authorship rights. It's not the author, but they have bought the rights, right?
Well, the right answer is you asking me which country, because each country nominates their own author, so it is really difficult. I work mainly with European countries and more the European Union. I am doing a manual all about the usage of still images and also moving images in all Union Europe. But the European Union, sorry. And also with the United States, that is easier because they don't defend authors in audiovisual films. It is the person, it is the producer, the main company that is behind the film. But in Europe, each country nominates its authors, which is really difficult to know all the authors of all the countries in the European Union. For example, in Portugal, we have 4 authors. We have the director, the screenwriter, the person who writes the dialogues, and the composer that composed the music specifically for that work. For example, here in Belgium, you have the same authors, same 4 authors, but you have one more that is the author of the pre-existent work. So if you do an adaptation from a book, a derivative work, so the person who wrote the book is also an author here in Belgium. But if you go to Netherlands, for example, the author is the person that first started the work, so it can be basically the director sometimes, the producer sometimes, the company too. It doesn't mean that it's always a person. And you have also countries that have specific authors, but then depending on the project, they can add more authors if they think they are relevant for the work. You have Lithuania is one of that countries, if I'm not wrong. Yes, and Croatia too, and Estonia too. So it's really difficult. If you want to know who the authors are, you have to know the law, and sometimes you have to know the contracts, not just the law of the country, and you have to know the nationality of the work, because you have co-productions too, which is more difficult. You have to know the treaties, treaties that the 2, 3 or more countries have between them, the contracts.
Production has a nationality.
Really difficult. And then you have the related rights. When I talk about the work use, I am talking of all kinds of uses beyond the simple private visualization of the work. We are talking about those who want to display the work to a general audience, broadcast it or transmit it within another context for which it was not created. For example, if I create a film and my contract is to be displayed just in theaters and to be edited in a DVD, you can't like display for in a university, for example, or I don't know, in a public cultural event. So you have a lot of authorizations to ask because of that. You also have the creators of derivative works that are, for example, the remakes or fan art. You have also the creators want to insert works produced by others in their own works. The teachers who intend to use the films during as an educational tool. The researchers or students who want to study films and include them in academical papers or even presentations like I'm doing here in the next slide. And in the other slides that you're going to see.
Really?
Not exactly. I'm going to say why. Well, so you have the related rights that you have to pay to the performers too, in specific use of the works. That is one of the problems too. Each usage has a different approach too. So you have to know the law entirely of each country. So the related rights protect the performance, the audiovisual recording producer, and or the broadcasting organization. You have also the public domain. You have to know if the work is in public domain or not, which means that if the work is free to use without the authorization of the legal figures and also without their payment, which means that for audiovisual work to be in public domain, the last author, it has to be 70 years after the last author dies. So you have here you have 5 authors, so the last one you have to wait 70 years after the last one dies to the work being public domain, what is crazy, because they call it like a legal article for the descendants, because this time, these 70 years and the other years when the other authors already died,
Passed away, yeah.
the money goes to the
It's
descendants.
for the children only, yeah.
So it's really crazy because that money could be used to make new works, but is completely stagnated in people that will not use it at all to make more art. And when we talk in all the countries in the European Union don't differentiate audiovisual works. So if it is cinema, if it is television, or if it is a video game, is the same. They have no identity at all, which is a really big problem, because if we analyze, for example, television series, drama series, the authors right now for the television studies and even for the audience are really different from the cinema ones. For example, the director is not seen as an author in TV shows. The producer is seen as an author, but in cinema, in most of the countries don't see the producer as an author. You have countries, I think is Lithuania again, that specifically says in their law that the producer can't be an author. You have other people that are really important and can be considered as an author to the ones that they already consider, but the producer is never seen as an author in Lithuania. Continuing, we have also the licenses, like Creative Commons and copyleft, that allows you to use the work legally, but maintaining the rights of the authors. They give you some authorizations, like it can be copied, the work can be copied, can be distributed, can or cannot be used with commercial advantage. It will depend in the type of license within, for example, the Creative Commons. They have several ones. Yes, I should. I'm already behind this. Well, these are some images. You can see that are legally identified correctly. This one is an American TV show, so you just use the company, the main distributor and the company, the name of the work and the data. But if it was an European one, you should also add all the authors to this identification. So. Well, this is a Portuguese broadcast, RTP1, and also we have here the example of the film Cinema Paradiso, and this is the correct way of identifying legally a film with the name, the year, and in Italy you have to mention the director, the screenwriter and the music composer, so they are all there. And Lionsgate Films was the main distributor company, because when you use an image, you have always to put the name of the distributor too, and in some cases you have to pay the distributor and also the authors. I can tell you when. Well, public domain, already said it, the copyleft and Creative Commons. And now we are but inside the Creative Commons and copyleft, sometimes this kind of licenses also want that you use the work that you create. If you create other work through these ones that have this kind of licenses, you also have to apply the same license. It happens a lot inside some of the Creative Commons licenses and also copyleft. I forgot to say that all the countries in the European Union have the same duration of public domain. It's always 70 years after the death of the last author, unless it is a derivative work from a work that is already in public domain, that is 25 years after the first publication or a creation. It will depend if the person don't publicate the work or publicate it. Well, and then you have the free use, fair use, and fair dealing. Most of the European countries, they use free use in their law, but you also have some examples of fair dealing and fair use inside Europe, like Poland and Cyprus. Cyprus is fair dealing and Poland is fair use. This kind of it is a policy inside of the law. In the case of free use and fair dealing, fair use don't use the articles discriminated in their law, but they are really similar. They are like exceptions or limitations in the usage of works. That means that you have a lot of uses that don't imply that you have to ask for authorization to the authors and pay them. It will depend on the use again.
What are typical examples of fair use?
Fair use normally is for a private usage of the work. If you want to do some copies privately and do some kind of fun art privately. But also some pedagogical research cases, some cases for information, but for specifically for the mass media. For example, I want to film something that is currently happening here in the university, and the mass media is reporting it. So I'm filming the building of the university. I don't have to ask the architects for authorization to film the building.
Yeah, I forgot you also need
this is a free use.
Photos for buildings in theory. You are reproducing the work of art of the architect.
Yes, and you also have some cases of social, cultural, and religious causes, for example. Yes. And technical procedures, it will depend. For example, I can use this kind of image right here and these two because they are considered quotes. It is a frame, so it doesn't. I don't have to ask for authorization from the authors nor pay them because they are considered quotes.
But
like
what is considered
literature.
a quote? Because I was recently confronted with the problem that in a scientific paper you can have a quote that's a whole paragraph and nobody would object. But apparently if you want to quote lyrics from a song, even a single sentence, you already need to have the permission for it.
I don't think that is really true. I don't work with music, it's true, but I don't think that is true.
Because we thought we were writing a paper, we wanted to use some quotes from
but
the
it's just a lyric.
The lyrics of The Wall of Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And then I had just gotten a whole list of regulations from Oxford University Press where they say about using lyrics, and the regulations were all extremely demanding, and even for 3 sentences you might have to pay I don't know how many $1,000.
I think the problem is the extent. Because, for example, you can use excerpts of a film, but it can't be long. too long
yeah, and that's
for the
question,
work
what,
to.
what is how long? Because
But you know,
It
it was
depends.
also the
for a book, typically, let's say one paragraph is considered
I
normal.
think 8 lines or something. 8 lines? Is that possible?
I don't know, but for lyrics, apparently,
It
it's much
depends.
Maybe
more.
You
a
have
different-
some countries that establish the quantity in their laws, like Belgium. I think Belgium do
Yeah.
that too.
But it could be very different from the UK, where the Oxford University is, you know. But we should have, you know, looked at the Belgium or maybe the
Well,
journals.
System Research and Behavioral Science. I know the managers are in the UK. I don't know whether the publishers.
Because they should
are in
make
the
sure, you know, that we are not like breaking their law.
And the thing is, they say in the law that you can use a part of a lyric, for example, as a quote, but it can't be extended at the point that the work no longer has interest, you know,
Yeah, okay.
to
But
lose
so you
some
can
interest
say, I am the
in the work.
walrus without being prosecuted.
Well,
Yet.
yeah,
If you say, I
the
am
thing
the
is, the
walrus,
lyric.
goo goo goo, maybe.
The thing is, the
limits.
lyric is really small. It's considered like a poem. It is a small piece. For example, you have several countries in Europe that considers poems in the free use, but you don't need the authorization of the author, but you need to pay the author, and also the person that the editor, yes, the person that printed
The
poem.
publisher.
Polish.
the publisher, yes. Yes, normally is that you have to pay the author and the publisher, and in the case of the audiovisual work, it has to be to the distributor. So yes, it is a problem. Well, okay. Free use is the last thing that you have to know, and it is really handy because it allows a lot of usage of the work without you have to ask for the authorization of the authors or to pay them, or even go to an entity of collective management of collective rights. That is also expensive, and unfortunately you have a lot of usage in some countries that you have to pass through that entities. Like, for example, if you want to expose a film in a festival, for example, that is not a cinema festival, it's a cultural festival, you have to go to that kind of entities and pay them automatically. You don't need the authorization of the author, but you have to pay them automatically. So you pay much more money that you should because of that kind of entities. And some of them, they are established in the law that you really have to, for that kind of use, you really have to go to that entities. So, well, the question is, what I've been talking about, these legal cases, they are just general notions. It is really, you can see that it is complex, but it is more than you can think, because in each kind of use you have to know more and more. For example, you can imagine that to know the author of a still image, it's easy, but it's not. Like, for example, if it is a photography, people think, oh, yes, it is a photography, so the author is the photographer. That is not true. Most of the time it's not the photography. The photographer is the collective entity that the photography is working for, like a journal or a magazine. So you have at least two authors: the person that took the photography and the entity. And if it is a photography of a painting, you have the painter, the photographer, and sometimes the collective entity. So you have to pay all of you have to ask for authorization and pay to all that people.
And if it's a painting of a building, then there is this architect of the building.
Sometimes, yes.
But
sometimes.
in that building there is a book, you know, you can see it.
It depends in the case, because you have a lot of cases of drawing public art, you know, a work of art that are publicly displayed, that you can do it without the authorization and the payment of the author, so it is okay. But it will depend on the country, it's not the same to all countries. So yes, it is really complex. And the thing is, the blockchain really can help in several things. For example, blockchain technology cannot solve the problem of legal updating, because most of the countries need to update their law. It's completely crazy. In Portugal, our law is stagnated since 72. And we don't have, for example, for cinema, you have a lot of articles that is a mix of literature and theater and music. It's not cinema. It's
from
like,
another generation.
yes, and you have a lot of articles that says, now you have to go to the part of literature and adapt to cinema, or go to part X that is about music and adapt to cinema. It's really crazy. It's like, it's really complex. But the blockchain, by providing direct access to the creators and are representative of the work, that it happens a lot, while maintaining their security and privacy. That is a really important thing that blockchain provides. It allows that also creators themselves may make available pre-made contracts that you can access through the platform. So you don't have to know all the things, all that these points. You don't have to know all of them, because the authors behind the work, being a film or a TV show, they can put in their platform contracts for any kind of usage, or even allow you to negotiate with them in particular usages. So this action would mean that users would not need to acquire an exacerbated amount of knowledge or hire a lawyer, mainly because of the transparency.
It should make lots of lawyers unemployed.
Really, probably not, because you need lawyers
To make the
platforms.
Yeah.
You need one or two lawyers at least to be always behind the
all
platform.
lawyers unemployed, but all the ones that are now looking up all these laws, they would be automated.
Yes, most of them would be automated, and the thing is, it would be really easier, because the legal language is really complex. It was really difficult for me, because I'm not from, I don't have a bachelor in law or something like that. I'm from cinema and television, and then I studied communication sciences, and for understanding the law, I had a lot of classes of authors' rights and copyrights, and it was crazy, because students didn't understand nothing about art, nothing, and I didn't understand nothing about law, so it was really funny. And it was really difficult, because especially when you start to read laws from other countries, legal acts from other countries, because of the translations, the bad translations. And blockchain would prevent that, because you don't have to translate the law. Because, for example, you have translations like, I had some here a point is like in France and Italy, the author of scenarios means screenwriter, and for me it's the scenographer. For me, is that author of scenarios, and for example, artistic director in Italy means the film director, and for me is art director. And for example, producer of the film, that for me is the producer of the film, in Germany means distributor. So it's really, really confusing to, but because I don't know all the languages of all the countries, it's really complicated. And I know right now I understand really well how the law is and how it functions. But for people that really don't know anything about law, it's really, really confusing. And well, most part of the platforms in blockchain right now, they are trying to translate everything for specifically for your language, but you don't need to read the act, so it's really simple and direct. You have all the contracts in your language, and it's okay. You have also, for example, there is a really important thing that the fact that each country chooses their own authors, it means that you have a lot of people, creators, that are suffering for intellectual property appropriation. That is something that the law is against. For example, if you have more authors than the ones that the law of that specific country says it has, you are stealing intellectual property. So it's funny to think about that because you have a lot of directives for legal harmonization, but they don't do anything at all. They just say things like, okay, you have this, 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 and this. Now you have to check in each country. So they don't really harmonize the law in the European Union. You also have, for example, the thing, as I said, this platform, this technology will allow the absence of entities like distributors, like promoters and collective rights management entities, and the cost will be really low. You have, I don't know if you know the artist Imogen Heap, the singer. She was the first singer to use blockchain. And she said like it was amazing. It was really useful. It was really easy to use, and she could sell her songs with a really low price and get a lot of money. And also the fans wouldn't have problems like being accused by YouTube, for example. It happens a lot that they are plagiarizing the music, using her music in videos, because she allows it automatically in that platform. And YouTube, if you use like 30 seconds of the music, and if the YouTube can catch the music, they will upload your video, take down your video. And Imogen Heap said that it was really great because she wants to allow it to the fans to use 30 seconds. And other platforms are...
How can she check that they don't use the whole song, for example?
I think it will depend on on the use that you want to make. I'm not entirely inside of all kind of uses that she allows.
I assume that within the blockchain system you can check whether somebody uses not more than a certain amount, but outside the blockchain system in YouTube you can't check within the blockchain system. So
Yes.
you don't know whether they are using it according to the contract.
Yes, that is true. But the thing is, even the artists allowing some kind of usage, even if it is for research or for education or even for entertainment, you have a lot of platforms that take down your work, and the authors are not connivent with that. You know, they don't want that, but you have a lot of platforms to respect the copyrights. They do that automatically, and the blockchain will allow for you to have direct contact to with the creator. So you don't have that kind of problems to have other platforms taking down your work just because you use 30 seconds of a song. You also have a lack of compliance with the goals defended by the legal system of authors' rights and related rights when talking about works created by multiple people, because the authors' rights and related rights were created specifically for solo works. For example, you have all the European countries defend things like the incentive to create new works. The money that you receive from the author's rights and related rights, it's an incentive to create new works, for the evolution of that specific field, also to the acquisition of new knowledge inside that field, and the provision of support for the author's livelihood during the course of creating new projects. But the thing is, in cinema and television, that money is an extra. If you are a painter or if you are a writer, that money is the way you live. You need that money to live, because you just earn money if you sell the work or if you exploit the work in some way. But in cinema, it's just an extra that goes to 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and they don't use it. They can use it, but you really don't know if they will apply that money to create new works, to get knowledge, to improve the field. You can know that when it is a solo work, because the author supposedly wants to keep doing art, that kind of art or other kind of art, but he's a solo artist. But when you have multiple people, that is not guaranteed, especially when you have to wait 70 years to the author's death, and that money goes to their sons. That money is not applied at all. Unfortunately,
But why would that be a condition? It's a way to make money, make a movie. So you're an author of the music of the movie, or the story of the movie, or even to the movie itself, and then you get a royalty on your.
Yes, but
your
you
work.
were paid already.
Are you paid?
You
So
were
you get a
paid.
salary.
That
for the,
is
for
an
the work,
extra.
and that's an extra.
Yes.
It's like a dividend. It's like
Yes, it's an extra, and for a solo author, it's not an extra.
You need it.
You need it to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference. The author's rights, it was created specifically for solo authorship.
I get it.
And the blockchain can't help with that problem, but because the legal figures have to decide where to apply that money.
But blockchain can make an execution of a legal contract automatic.
Yes.
That's what it can do.
Yes.
So you can put the whole difficult decision tree in the programming and put it in the blockchain, and then he goes and executes. So this person gets a little bit. And
Yes, the legal figures receive automatically the
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
The legal figures
so the
that have to receive
beneficiaries,
money.
They are distributed the money to.
Yes, they are distributed right away. You have here the example of Streamspace that tells exactly that they are really into
Yes.
the copyrights. They distribute the money directly to the people.
But what you need is a very clear text, is a very clear law.
Yes,
If the law
the
is a
problem
little
is
bit
that
ambiguous.
yes,
Like
and
you
each
said in
country
Portugal
has
is,
their own
you can't program it.
particularities. Yes, they have all the same system, the same legal system, but they don't work in the same way.
Okay.
Even free use is not the same in all countries. It's really
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
They can have, for example, the same things, but in one country you have to pay, and in other country you don't have to pay. In other country you have to ask for authorization. In other not. It's really different, and it's really difficult. So,
So it's important to know where it's made, but also important to know where all the legal entities that made the movie, where they are, their
yes.
residences, and it's also important to know where it is.
Yes, and
where
it's really
shown.
difficult to get in touch with the authors. If I need the authorization of the author, but how can I speak with, I don't know, Spielberg? Not Spielberg because he's American, but if he is doing a co-production in Europe, an European movie, if I want to speak with Spielberg, how can I speak with
It's
Spielberg?
difficult.
It's not, it's not like that. It's really difficult, or even I don't know. Even if you are talking about European authors, they are really difficult to reach. Truffaut, Godard, you can't reach them. You have to talk with the entities that manage the collective rights, but you have to pay for that. It's not. You have to pay an extra because you didn't contact directly the authors. And for example, if you contact directly the authors, probably you can use the work without payment, just with their authorization.
Yeah.
But if you don't find them, you have automatically to pay to the entities. And most of the money doesn't reach the authors. The problem is that it's most of the money
We don't
is
even
lost.
know that they've been asked.
Yeah, I analyzed the case of Netherlands. I don't know if you remember. Probably it went all the world during the I don't know the trailers or in theater, and even in DVDs you had a commercial against piracy that
Yes.
said you would never steal a car. That is funny because it was Brain, that is the
Yes.
collective entity that managed
Speaking Brain,
the rights, stole the music from the composer. Yes.
For that clip.
Yes, and it was a collective entity that managed rights. Yes, and the problem, it gets better because he went to the tribunal and he won the case, and the entity had to pay him like millions of euros. Yes, because it went all the world. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
All the countries had that publicity in the theaters, in DVDs. So it was millions. And the director of the entity said, okay, if you give us part of the rights, we can give you the money faster. They stole the music, the rights of the music, and they were negotiating the acts of theft.
So I steal your car, but you can get it back faster if you give half of the car to me.
Yes, probably you will not receive
Smart.
all the money, so if you give us part of the royalties,
It's a typical Dutch
we
tradition,
will pay you faster.
negotiation tradition.
Yes,
How
and it's,
ironic it was in that clip, right?
yes.
So
And is
fun.
an entity that supposedly protects the
the
author.
rights of the
Yeah.
author.
Yes,
They themselves.
the
I
authors.
didn't know that.
Yes, so and you have a lot of that kind of cases, unfortunately. Even in Portugal, yes, you have a lot of money that don't reach the authors. Because
No, the
How
process
can you know?
is very inefficient.
Yeah.
yes, because how can you, for example, a work to be protected, you don't have to register the work. They are protected when they are conceived. So how can you follow all the usage that are being made of the work? You know, all the commercial exploitation if the work is not registered. So they sometimes get advantage because of that. And you have some cases in the USA that the entities say specifically that the authors, which are not just so recognized like others, they take their money and give that money to more famous authors. It happens a lot.
How does it do that?
It's like an investment in more prominent authors, you know, with more vision that can go to that can reach other countries, and so they apply that money to the most well-known authors, and the ones that are not just well-known, they don't get
If
the
they
money.
are in a partnership kind of,
No,
so
no.
the less known with the...
No, it's like in all all the works that they manage, if they get just like some euros for
So a couple of
and-
thousand here and a couple
yes,
of
they
hundreds of
took
thousands
this
there.
money and
Uh-huh.
invest in the most famous one, and the others don't get any
So
So
money.
they
the
don't have
money
a
is
voice.
not tracked per person, but it's just collected, and then there are
Yes.
priorities like everywhere, and then just the rest of it.
Yes,
right?
because the thing is that entities are the responsible to fiscalization. You know,
Yeah.
to do the fiscalization. So
Yeah.
who fiscalize them? You know,
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
they do what they want.
Mhm.
The problem is that.
Fiscalization is like a supervision.
Yes, supervision. Yes.
So each
Right.
intermediary is actually shaping the outcome by their own, you know, like what they need to.
Yes, is an investment for
Mhm,
them,
yeah.
and the authors that really need the money don't get the money.
Mhm.
So it's really
And
complicated.
like the need is of course, you know, debatable, that it's but the ones who have produced that income should get it, you know,
Yes.
basically.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so-
yes. It's something that it's there.
Exactly,
yes,
it's for them,
It's
yeah.
for them. It's
Yeah.
not like they can decide what to do with their money.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it.
Mhm.
But okay. Concluding, as you can see, blockchain allows the resolution of several issues. One of them would be to end that kind of entities. You will not need at all that entities, because you can reach directly the authors. You can you don't need to even the distributors and promotion. It will depend what kind of impact or what kind of reach do you want to achieve. But even so, you don't need third parties anymore. It's a new kind of revolution.
Cut out the middleman.
Yes,
Yeah,
cut out the middleman.
it's
It's
all
that.
with the-
Yes.
The difficulty is that the middleman does not automatically agree.
No, the middleman will not
He
want
will
to
be
be
No,
the
no,
final
no, it's
deal.
not agree at all. No.
Resist
No, no.
his initiative. That's a problem.
Well, there are already platforms that deal with legal issues, more with images, still images than audiovisual ones. It's a little bit difficult right now to deal with that, but you already have for still image like CopyTrack. CopyTrack is one of the platforms that use blockchain technology, and what this platform do is its focus is specifically on the global registration of copyrights and authors' rights, and also track the use of the work. Everything dealt with appropriation of intellectual property, plagiarism, it will be easier to detect with this kind of platform. So I'm saying that it's really important to get the law right and get to people and explain them the importance to know the law, or to improve and build a platform like a blockchain platform that deals with this kind of issues, because I think in the very brief future it will be a problem to use works made by other authors, because it is really complex, but nowadays it's really lucrative to go after people that use illegally works, and you already have platforms for that.
Yeah.
I think the big problem right now is cryptocurrencies. In energy and cryptocurrencies is the two big problems that we have to deal with. But I think blockchain has a lot of potential right now, and if you can improve these little things like the tokens and the energy, it will be a really, really good technology to invest in the future.
Difficulty is that it gets more complex with more use. So the
Yes.
really high numbers of transactions, like watching film every time. I mean, if you have to organize, for instance, like a Netflix kind of frequencies, then it will go. The energy use will go up exponentially.
Yes, the
Worse
problem
and
is
worse.
that
Now is already.
the big
I've
problem is the
already noticed
energy.
it's already.
It's already expensive per transaction.
Yes,
So
yes.
in the low number of transactions, I can imagine like real estate, big contracts also, that it's not so many transactions that it can handle that. The energy usage, the really high frequencies.
Yes, it's a
difficult.
futuristic technology. We need
Something
new
new.
kinds of.
No, but I've always wondered in this case whether you really need this complete distribution where it's completely spread out over all kind of computers that are making calculations that cannot be. If you could still centralize it, but have it centralized by a public body, let's say the European Union, that is scrutinized by everybody to make sure that they don't abuse it. And then you
I
can
think
use traditional currencies and traditional contacts.
In Japan, it works really well, and I think this kind of technology it needs a more evolving human. You know, it's like you have to work in your emotional intelligence a lot, exactly because it is a technology that requires trust and requires to be democratic, really democratic. You know, don't have anyone with mean behaviors, you know, just it is an imaginary coin, you know, but even so, because of the power behind it, you have people trying to get it all and get the higher position in this kind of technology with something that doesn't have value, just have the value that people gives it. So it really requires a sociological evolution. It's not just technological.
It's very interesting what you are saying. You know, like the technology is being developed for this evolved human, and like failing, but also improving when that human is not that evolved. You know, this is the pressure which makes it, you know, improve the technology. But you know, like interesting question is like, can the technology develop so far that it will make the human evolve? You know, like it will force it to behave in that way, because it will be the only way that makes sense, you know, and there will be no other way. Yeah. So this is the game, I would say.
Yes, because of that, I say in Japan it really works. The Bitcoin, for example, it really works in Japan because they are really strict and really focused, and you don't have almost crime in Japan because of that. The police are really bored right now because they don't have any big crimes happening in Japan. So it's, yes, you have to force the people to evolve, or the people have to. The problem is
it's not just the people, it's the social system, and I think it's a lot of capitalism.
It's
because
the education.
Capitalism makes the whole point of making as much money as possible is a very strong temptation to use all this kind of system to make as much money as possible.
Is it the education? Most of people don't have emotional intelligence, and they don't have any basic education. Most of them don't go to college. In Portugal, it's rare the person that have a master's degree, for example.
Portugal in that respect, in Europe it's not doing well.
It's easy to get a bachelor, but a master's degree is really rare for a person there to has a master's degree. So you have a lot of people that don't.
Why?
Because they don't want to study.
It very much depends on the local culture. I think in Portugal has always been a culture that's
it's a lack of emotional intelligence. It's like they don't think they have to learn. It's like they stagnate. It's they take their bachelor because it's really important to have a bachelor. They don't know why. It's a sociological thing, you know. So you have to take a bachelor not because you want it, but because the society wants you to do that. And then they don't evolve as person anymore, you know. It's like even emotionally most of them they have like 15 years old or 18 years old, even if they are, I don't know, 40 or 50 years old.
So
it's really strange. Yes, the thing of saudade, the nostalgia, and they are really negative people, really fatalistic. Yes, they are really like that. They really like to victimize themselves. And it's really strange. It's because of that they don't get more knowledge. They stop to learn. And in Portugal, Bitcoin will not work at all. I don't believe it. Blockchain will not work.
So if there was basic income in Portugal, people would be just standing and...
You have a lot of people that are earning money without doing nothing.
They wouldn't be doing
They don't do nothing. They just exist.
Drink coffee
or they have children. Is that it? And they are not happy, but they are happy to say that they are not happy.
So there's some happiness in it. You know?
Yes, it's really strange, but it happens.
A lot of people like that as well.
So it's probably that you have a lot of countries that are in a similar position. I don't say that they are equal, but yes. They
So
don't.
Inês, what's wrong with you? You're not Portugal or what? Portuguese?
I
What
am
are
a
you
mix.
doing here?
I am a mix. Yes, I'm
Okay,
not
yeah.
100%
Oh, it's
Portuguese.
understandable.
You travel too much too.
But yes, this is my research. It was a little bit faster. I'm a little bit tired because I didn't sleep at all. So I was a little bit slower than usual. But yes, it's this. Yes, it is. I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, I've been thinking about these things long before there was any blockchain, and I thought about a number of things that would need to be changed to. I was thinking in the very beginning of the World Wide Web, in the 1990s, you didn't yet have movies, but you had people who put lots of work in making nice websites, and then you would like them to get some kind of a return. And I thought there are a number of things that should happen. One is microcurrencies, not necessarily cryptocurrencies, but where you can make very small payments. But if lots of people make lots of very small payments, you do earn an income. For example, I had a website, well, the first one in Belgium, and it got something like, I don't remember, something like 10,000 hits a day, and I wouldn't ask money for it, but if each hit would give me €1 cent, I would have made some reasonable money with that. And it would have stimulated me to make it bigger. But because of all the friction and complications in the normal monetary system, a 1 cent per download thing doesn't really exist. Well, it should be able to do that. You don't need all this complicated blockchain thing, I think, to do it. But I don't know what are the technical obstacles to do it, why it. Probably because there is no money in it, because the ones who make the money, the banks, they all are interested in big transactions, they're not interested in the small transactions. But making very small transactions possible, that's one way. A second thing I thought about is that if you want to avoid piracy, that's to say people using things without paying for them, don't make them pay for it, but let everybody pay kind of a general tax, a tax, let's say, for using the internet, and then distribute the tax proportionally to what things people consult.
Yes, they do that with the television content, for example, but it really doesn't work. The problem is that.
But what you should, and then the third thing is that otherwise you get clickbait. Suppose that there would be some kind of a registry where it's checked which pages are downloaded or which movies are downloaded or which songs are viewed, and then people would get paid relative to the number of people that look at that page, let's say. Of course that would create clickbait, people trying to allure you to click on their link, and actually it's nonsense what you get behind. So what you should then allow is to let people who download some content to give them an indication of I like that, or that's nonsense, or something in between. And then people who use the internet would anyway pay a total sum, but they could in a sense decide who gets the money by noting which things they liked and which things they didn't like, and in the end all the likes, you might say, that are collected would then be calculated into how much do you get. But you only have the likes after the people have really watched your movie, not beforehand. So it wouldn't be like us on Facebook and you will get this or that. You would really like it, and nobody except this kind of mediator, which may be a blockchain or which may be the European Union or whoever, would know who likes what. So there would be no sending people to cheat and to say, I have liked this, and because I like it now I will get a free sample of this or that. So it would be anonymous what you like, so you have no reason to cheat, you would only like the things that you actually like, and then the money would be divided depending on this kind of anonymous likes. So I think that would be a way to make it much more fair.
Yes,
I think that's what this tries to do.
yes,
In a
it
way.
was the yes. when you are seeing a real-time transaction, you don't know the people involved. You personally can't know who the people are. You have codes. The computers, the phones can recognize the people, but you, as a person, can't recognize them because each entity recognizes just code, and you can't by yourself to establish a point between the person behind the code and the code, because the code is always changing. It's really complex, but it's always anonymous, and it is what this platform
Yeah, but it's not
does,
just anonymity, but the point is that you should only, money should only be transacted after you have seen the work and decided that you liked it. Because otherwise, what now typically happens is you
Yes,
pay
that's-
before you
that's-
get the contents.
Yes,
Well,
it
what
will
you
depend
should
on
be-
the platform,
No, it
because
can't.
you can you can do that.
I assume it can be programmed. I suppose it can be
Yes,
programmed in
yes,
blockchain. But I think
yes.
it's an important part that you should. It's not so much that you would cheat, because otherwise you could say I didn't like any of it, so I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
You pay anyway whatever you use, but who receives what part of your money depends on how much you liked it, and that is something you say after you
Yeah,
have
that's
seen the work.
Yeah.
So you can watch a movie and say, oh, that was really boring, and then you can watch another movie and say, that was fantastic. And so the second movie gets all your money, the first movie doesn't get any of your
And
money.
where does the money go when you don't like it? To the platform?
Then it goes to the platform. If you don't like anything,
So,
it
you
just
know,
goes to the
now
platform,
imagine-
and then the
now
platform
you-
just decides it, gives it proportionate to what other people have
Now
liked.
imagine you are the platform manager, and for you to earn is to put as many bad movies there as possible without, like losing the clientele, because then you are earning.
The idea is that there would be a distribution of the money depending on the relative likes. So as long as there are some people who like some things more than that, you have an estimate to calculate
So the rest of the people.
like let's say, let's put it simply, you have 10 movies and 90% of the people like movie 1 and 5%
Okay, I
like
get it.
movie 2 and 3% like movie 3 and nobody likes movie 7 to 8.
So this is the distribution,
That's the
not the
distribution,
platform. Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
gotcha.
distribution.
Yes, yes. It's really interesting, and you can do that with blockchain or without blockchain. Yes,
No.
it's a possibility. But the thing is, blockchain technology really the part that interests me in blockchain is the legal part. I think legally it will be a really big step. In terms of distribution and promotion, I think it's nothing is really new. It's like you are catching all the things that you have done until now in the cinema industry and the television industry, in commercial and independent cases, and you are putting everything in a platform or in several platforms. It's not new. The new is
that's not
the
new, but
blockchain
I think
itself.
what I propose would make a very big difference also in the promotion, because you could still make a lot of promotions for a bad movie, but if you know that lots of people will watch that movie and then decide, I don't like it, they know that there is no sense in putting a lot of money in promoting a bad movie. While the good movie, which maybe didn't have all that money behind it to promote it, after a few people like it, through the platform more and more people will like it, and they will eventually be get a reward for it. So it would become more fair in the sense that it would depend less on your public relation budget and your publicity budget and all kind of hypes. It would in the end be the quality that decides whether you how much you get rewarded.
Yes, it's really interesting. You should do a platform outside
Yeah.
blockchain
Yeah.
with that proposal.
Whether it's blockchain or not, because as you said, the problems of blockchain, I'm still not convinced that it is a solution. But
No,
what
in
you
terms
can
of
do in theory
distribution
with
and
it
promotion,
could be able
it's
to do
just
this.
another way. It's not something that will do any difference. I think it's not something that it will really matters inside the
No,
industry.
but what you say is the automation of all these kind of transactions, and the kind of system I propose will need a number of these transactions to be automated, so that it's not the intermediate entities, as you say, that make all the money and then can anyway do what they like and not pay certain people because they're not well known, etc.
Yes, but that involves the legal part. The thing is that the problem is most of the platforms outside blockchain doesn't care with they care, but it's not that important. The thing is, blockchain technologies in these platforms, they try really to get all the legal part right, because there is completely transparency. You can see all the transaction. If you do something illegal, anyone can notice, and you can change the data. You can erase it. You can do anything. If you do something illegal, I can know. Anyone can know, and this is the great difference in blockchain.
It's extremely secure.
Yes.
Maybe it's too secure for a movie that you pay from the perspective of a customer for a few euros to watch it. Maybe so it's a big instrument
Yes.
for a small amount. I mean, you could
It's
go
something better for
so-
creators, for people that want to
from
create.
the perspective of the creator.
Yes,
It's a big investment.
Yes, yes. Even if he's a creator of a paper and you just want to use a small part of the film, because the fact is, if even being considered a quote, using a frame of a film or of a TV show, the thing is, you don't have to register the work to be protected, and because of that you have a lot of orphan works. You have a lot of works that you can't use it, because you don't know who the author is. And this platform would prevent that. Even if you don't have to pay or ask for authorization, but you need to know who the authors are. You go to the platform and you register the use automatically to know who the authors are, for example, or to know all the entities that you have to mention to use that work, and that will help a lot, because you have a lot of works in archives that you don't know who the authors are, so they are there. You can touch them. They are just disappearing with time. So you have a lot of good things with blockchain. But
I agree.
I don't know if you have any other questions.
$1 million question. Can that last?
Oh.
No, not really.
Yes, there was a third thing there was the microcurrency, the fact that you don't pay for the thing, but that the money is redistributed depending on what you liked. There was a third idea I had, which I don't remember at the moment, that such an ideal system should have.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah. Anyway, we are thinking, we have been thinking about our own alternative, the offer networks, which is a system where you don't even use money. So there are transactions made where one thing is exchanged for another thing, and the whole thing kind of keeps track, so that all the offers and all the demands are kind of matched, and that nobody can make unfair usage of it. One of our collaborators, Kabir, is working on a prototype implementation of that. It's quite ambitious, So, and I think it will use blockchain.
It will use blockchain in AI development. So
Okay.
you probably know the Singularity Net project
Okay.
on blockchain. That they are developing parts of the code and will be somehow exchanging by Open
Yeah.
Networks protocol.
But so, for example, I want to get certain things from the network, but I'm also supposed to put certain things in. So maybe I'm willing to give a course of mathematics over the internet, or maybe I want to put in some photos that I made, and the system just keeps track of what you put in and what you take out, and it makes sure that everything is more or less balanced. That's the idea. So there is no actually, you don't need money. You could use money to make balances if there is no other balance made, but in theory the system could work even without money. That's the idea.
Okay. Yeah, it seems really interesting and really ambitious.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting.
But let's say for me the motivation is because I think that lots of these what you also call emotional intelligence problems have to do with the capitalist system where you
Yes.
need money and you need to accumulate money and everything turns around money, which is a one-dimensional quantity. So all values like happiness, health, friendship, you can't put money values on them, so it's as if they don't count, it's as if only the money counts. While using a system like that that's not based on money, these things could again become valuable.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
that's kind of the philosophy behind it, but yeah, it's ambitious, and whether it will get
No,
realized, we
but
don't know.
it is really interesting.
Well, we had quite a big project about it, but unfortunately our sponsor didn't get convinced to put in a few million euros that we had asked for. But now one of our colleagues, Ben Goetzel, is attracting other sponsors for a system that's not exactly, well, it's his version of it, but it's similar enough. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. I don't know what to say.
Mark, is there anything you want to say about blockchain for what was again the title of our last paper?
Human takeover?
The human takeover. Yeah.
Oh, you know, like for me, this blockchain, I understand that there are problems and obstacles and things to be developed, but like for me, the beauty of it is that if, you know, just like what has happened with information can happen with transaction, those microtransactions, those, you know, exchanges, this precise tracking of everything, it becomes the internet, you know? So the idea I'm thinking about, but it's probably impossible, you know, to catch this moment of transition to this situation now when it's still developing, and to like organize this whole distribution of values which are happening in a different way, not in a capitalistic way that there are only players who they sell something and earn something, but there would be something like a small, you know, percentage, like 1 or 2% of all values that, you know, like something like an internet tax, you know, that okay, so when anything comes in,
the Tobin tax, but for all kind of
it
transactions.
gets cut out, you know, like a kind of like processing fee that could serve as a basic income for like everybody, you know, on the planet, not per country, not Europe, not whatever, but something like, you know, because when you have the transaction cost of whatever is happening in the traditional means, like banks, lawyers, and so on, it
all
costs
these
a lot,
entities,
you know.
it's an enormous
All those
waste
entities,
of money.
accounting services. If this internet, you know, blockchain or whatever, could do accounting and legal processing and bank processing, all automated, you know, on the cost of the energy which should go from, you know, solar energy, hopefully, you know, sometime. So, you know, like, so then, you know, like solar energy is doing accounting, legal transacting, and banking for us. So now, okay, how much we have saved exactly, percent? Why not make it into the global dividend, not global basic income as a social security thing, but global dividend for everybody on the planet, And then people in Portugal would not even get bachelors probably, but but I like this scenario of catching this transition for this purpose precisely.
Yeah, the problem is the resistance of all that entities and from the government, because they are linked to the government, and all the thing around the Bitcoin and the idealization and all the perspective, and it's because it's not linked to any policy or government or bank or so you have a lot of people that really like Bitcoin just because of that. It's not it's not because of what it is. It's just because it is not linked to any bank or governmental entity.
That does not mean that the capitalist spirit doesn't also control it. So that means people who can use Bitnuts to get a lot of money and a lot of power, they will do it. It's not because it's not controlled by the government that it will
yes,
be
and you
abused.
have that part of that part
I mean,
of the
this
Bitcoin.
kind of naive idea that the libertarians said that if you eliminate government, then everything will be fair and democratic, which it won't be, because just again the ones that are most assertive to grab money and power that will do so.
Yes.
And they are becoming the new government. And
Yes.
they have just restructured everything.
They just
so
changed the name.
Yeah, we've called it, existential opportunity. You catch the moment, and then you do something. Because when it's small, when it's not so convincing yet, okay, it's just an arrangement. But when you install this and then it grows, it's not so easy to remove a principle like that, So.
What Marta was speaking kind of also fits in with the offer network scenario. In the offer networks, there's kind of the idea that you're exchanging, but there are also people who simply don't have anything to exchange. Suppose that you are a poor old grandmother who can hardly leave her house. You can't expect her to do things in order to get these movies and these foods that she needs. So there should be the equivalent of a basic income in the sense that there should be what I call a basic offer, which does not need to be in money, but a number of services and products that everybody would be entitled on. And that could be financed by these kind of transaction taxes.
Yeah, the thing with Bitcoin, for example, is that you can you don't need like a computer or a mobile phone. You just need a paper and a pen if you want to register the code and accompany the code. The thing is, you have a lot of work doing that. It's like I don't have the resource to have a computer, so I have to work more just to have a little bit of this new technology. So it's a lot of. It's unfair. It still is unfair. So it's a kind of capitalism too, in a way.
I think you could probably provide interfaces that are so simple that even an old grandmother can use it. Like the way in Africa they transfer money via GSMs. It's a very simple technology, but they use it to do transactions.
Yes, but if you have a better equipment, you can do the mining and all the technological and coding part that is more complex and require better equipment. So you will have more bitcoins.
That is an unfair part I find about the
problem.
The Bitcoin mining.
Yes.
Who mines the bitcoins? The people who can afford to do so. That means the people who have money will make more money because they have money.
So
it's completely
yes,
unfair.
In that part, yes, but blockchain is not really completely.
That's another reason why I'm still skeptical about blockchain and Bitcoin as being a solution. I mean, the principles of applying it are very much like, but the way it is done, I think there must be other implementations.
For me, it's just a legal solution
Yeah.
because it's easier to deal with the law with this kind of technology than to change all the law in all the countries at the same time.
Yeah, but
It's really
but
difficult
that
to
I
do
think
that.
is a general principle. It is that anything that should be formalized like law, you try to put in a computer so that the computer does all the formal things for you. And
Yes,
you don't
an
need
artificial
to look
intelligence
anymore up
probably,
in
yes.
big books whether there hasn't been a case where this thing was done by that. The computer knows all the rules, so you put as many of the rules of the legal system in the
The
computer,
thing
and the
is
computer
that you
does
have
it
to
for you.
develop the law. The law is completely stagnated. It's like no one is updating anything in the European Union.
Yeah.
So,
By putting it in the computer, in a sense, forced to update it. So that
Yes.
is,
but it has to be an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It can't be just.
Well, I'm more thinking in terms of what in artificial intelligence is called ontologies or the semantic web. That means that you develop a system of distinctions and categories and links between these categories that the computer can understand, which means you need to formalize things. And you can't formalize everything, but law is supposed to be formalized. So whatever can be formalized should be formalized in such a way that the computer can do it. And when the computer does it, you don't need all these intermediate entities and lawyers and accountants and bankers and so on to do it for you, and you save a lot of money and you also make life much easier.
Yes, and you don't have to know all the codes.
Precisely.
And the thing is, lawyers normally have to know not just one field, is a lot of fields, and it requires a lot of knowledge. So you have to pay a lot because of that kind of knowledge, because it requires a lot of years to know this kind of thing. European Union, and it is a lot, even so. So yes, and it has to be a machine to do that because it's really difficult for a human being to have all that information and update that information. That is also the case in some countries, not all the countries, but in some countries you have to update the information, and that is really complicated.
I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of the GDP of the world is spent in these kind of things. Okay, I suppose. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
Thank you.